Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo sports talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Big thank you to everyone out there, as always, for checking in, watching, listening, following, subscribing. I do appreciate y'all very, very much. If you happen to be watching this late on Sunday night on the video side, we're streaming this live, of course, in podcast form. This will be available immediately after. I feel good. COVID's gone. I'm back to having a show every day, starting with this one. I want to say this before I bring in my guest right here, Joe from Queens, and we're going to have our live post-game reactions. I want to say this. The New York Jets lost this afternoon being Sunday afternoon, at home to the Denver Broncos. When that game ended, I immediately put up a tweet, and I said, as far as I'm concerned, the Bills are playing with house money. The Jets lose at home. They got 2 losses already. The Bills are on the road, a tough opponent, prime time, against a very hungry team that just, I felt like, matched up well with the Bills. And I said, if the Bills win this game, they can almost take a stranglehold on the division very early on. If they lose, it's probably not going to feel like the end of the world. I still kind of feel like that if we're looking at the big picture thing. The Baltimore Ravens crushed the Buffalo Bills tonight, 35-10. And honestly, the score could have been 49-10 for all I care, because this was a very, except for a little spurt in the game, a very one-sided, dominant performance by the Ravens. Tip of the cap to them. The Buffalo Bills saw their 44-game streak, an NFL record of not losing to anybody during the regular season by 6 points or by more than 6 points, go by the wayside. Again, I'm joined here, Joe from Queens. I don't even know. Win or lose, you're going to crack your beer. I do respect that, man.
Crack a beer.
What do you got there quickly? I always ask you, man, what do you got? What are you going with there?
I have a Montauk Summer Ale. Montauk is located in Long Island, kind of in the Hamptons area. They do a decent job, and that's it. So it's a summer ale. I have not had it. It's been in my fridge for like 4 months, and I should have had it during the summer.
Okay,
and that's that. It's good.
Let me go right here with you, Gardy, because we're literally seconds into a stream. And again, I want to be focused on the podcast side, but right off the bat, a couple comments. Alex Barber says, why call a trick play in the situations? That's where I was going to start anyway.
Sure.
Nick Page is talking about Joe Brady just getting absolutely killed. A cupcake ass trick play call. 17 almost got killed. It was pretty bad. Let's start there, okay? Because there's a million ways we can go in this game. Do the Bills win the game if they don't call that play? Probably not. But I will say this. As bad as they played in the first half, and we will get into that, they put themselves in a 21-3 hole. The Bills come out. They get a big stop. Then they score a touchdown. It's 21-10. They get another stop. They get the ball. They're moving. They're at midfield. And they run a trick play. Curtis Samuel to Josh Allen. I don't even want to call it a flea flicker or a reverse, whatever the hell you want to call it. It ends up being a disaster. Josh Allen almost gets killed, fumbles the ball. They lose it. With that play, the game is over. Look, it's easy to have hindsight, Joe, but I'll say this. That trick play was one of the worst things I've ever seen. Like, that makes last year's freaking Damar Hamlin fake punt look like child's play by comparison. We can start there if you want. Where do you want to go when you think about this game? And again, we're recording this, 10 minutes after the final whistle.
The trick play was, I don't want to be a cliche guy, but I want to look at the film because I do want to see if there were guys open, because I love trick plays. Like, sign me up. I'm that asshole who did the flea flicker all the time in Tecmo Super Bowl or Madden. And it was such a poorly drawn play where it was like, oh, cool, do a trick play. But it was so poorly executed. I thought if you saw it, like Deion Dawkins, I don't know what Deion Dawkins was doing, but like he basically let a guy go by him. And then when Curtis Samuel, tossed it back to Josh Allen, Dawkins was like whiffed on trying to chip the guy, and he didn't really run after him. Like if you watch it, like Deion Dawkins, I don't know what the fuck he was doing on that play, but that's what to me kind of got him killed at that moment. So the timing was, and that's the thing.
Right, man.
No, I'm not that angry about that, to be honest with you. Because look, it's a trick play. It's risk reward, all that shit. It just was a poorly constructed. It was you want to do a trick play, cool, do a trick play. That trick play was bad. I mean, everyone it looked like shit from the start. Like I said, like go watch it. Deion Dawkins, I don't know what he was doing on the block scheme. Like he let the guy go, and maybe he was trying to have him over pursue. And then when Samuel pitched it back, he was supposed to chip at the guy. They almost killed Samuel, and he didn't. And then Josh Allen got killed by the same guy. So yes, I'm sorry. Like I understand why you go for that sort of thing, but it was just a shitty play call. It was a shitty call or not. I was fine with the call. I'm not happy with the play, if that makes sense.
It sort of does. I'll tell you what.
I want to see the film. I want to see if there were guys down. They did not show an end zone view of that, which was kind of frustrating. Like I want to see if there was a guy wide open or coming in stride. Because then if it is, that's when you go to individuals. And I keep hammering Deion Dawkins, and look, he's been great this season. But like if you see that, watch that play. He just lets the guy go, and he doesn't do a good enough. If he's hustling right before the pitch, when the pitch happens. Back to Allen. If he's hustling, he knocks the guy that's going after Allen off his ass, and he didn't. That's on fucking him. So
yeah, I gotta watch it back. So we'll agree on that. Watching it back might tell you something. It looked like and again, I'm going off the top of my head here. We're just minutes after the game. It was a poor execution of Samuel getting the ball to Josh. I just felt like this team they played themselves back into this football game, and then in one play. It was gone. But we're focusing right now a lot on one singular play. Let's not lose sight of the big picture here, and that's this. The Baltimore Ravens came out, and I was sick last week, but I did put out a post-game or a preview, I should say, a pregame preview. And I said one of the big keys for the Bills was they had to weather the storm. I had a really strong feeling that Baltimore was going to come out strong, but I didn't think they were going to come out this strong. First 3 drives of the game, 3 touchdowns, 238 total yards, 12 first downs, 3 for 3 on third down conversions. They converted a 3rd and 11, a 3rd and 14 on that third drive. They averaged almost 12 yards per snap on their first 3 drives. The Bills were completely shell-shocked on defense. Meanwhile, on offense, they were struggling. Sean McDermott, who's been pretty aggressive, punted on 4th and short twice. That surprised me a little bit. But we could talk about that. But let's start with the defense, man, because I'm angry, but I'm not angry necessarily at, I think, some of the things that a lot of other people might be angry at. They're decimated with injuries, and it didn't rear its ugly head the first 3 games. This was the game where it did. No Matt Milano, which he's not going to be back till at least December anyway, but no Terrell Bernard, no Teron Johnson. And their replacements tonight, Cam Lewis, oh my God, was he terrible tonight. And Braylon Spector, who's giving it his best, but he ain't Terrell Bernard. He was getting swallowed up, just confused out there. That defense was pathetic tonight, out of sorts. The defensive line, at least in the first half, gave them nothing, 0. Nothing from Oliver, nothing from Groot, nothing from A.J. Epinesa, basically. Daquan Jones, they were all invisible. A collective defensive debacle. And did you kind of feel like it was a matter of time before one of these things happened? Because it certainly happened tonight, man.
I did not like this matchup heading into this game. And the last post show we did last week, I said to you, I was not looking forward to this matchup because the Ravens are just a team that does not match up well against the Bills, or matches up well against the Bills, excuse me. They just, they're big up front, and I think that was going to be, and then you have a giant running back, and I thought that was going to be where the Bills were going to be in trouble with their injuries, especially with linebackers being decimated, no Teron Johnson, for like run support, and I feel like that is kind of where it's a bad matchup, and the Bills gave up 281 yards in total offense in the first half. Like you're not going to win that many football games like that. The second quarter was a disaster. Like I think I saw it to where I added it up. The Bills had like 12 passing yards in that quarter. They just got dominated. And I think, the first play of the game, like for the Ravens, that run was like cakewalk. And if you watch it, like you have miscues. Like Ed Oliver, I think may have taken the wrong gap on that.
He got blocked by a fullback on that play. I know the play well.
Yeah, he got his ass like shook, and then Rasheed Douglas, he took I don't know what he was doing, but he had an angle on it, and he like got a deer in a headlight. Look what he does. Like
he wasn't the only one though.
Yeah. Do I want to take out Derrick Henry? You know, this guy's a fucking train, like killing people left and right, and it was just a bad matchup for them, and it's a league of matchups, and there are teams like in the AFC where I'm like, hey, you know, the Bills, they can beat this team. The Ravens to me are just a team that I really, really just hate I just don't like how they match up against the Bills. I didn't buy into the whole like, oh, hey, like the Bills have had their way with Lamar Jackson. Because to be honest with you, it's been a little, the teams, the last time they played.
They sort of have.
Hold on, let me finish there.
I think I might have lost you on the you were stuck for a second. You there, Mark?
Yeah, I can hear you. You were stuck, not me. You were stuck. No. Get better internet connection. I digress. Anyways, no, you're right. They have had their way with him, but let's look at it this way. 2 years ago, you go look at that box score. Go look at that roster when they beat them barely on the last second. It's completely different rosters on both ends of the spectrum. The Bills' back seven is completely different than it was in 2022. Sure. Okay, sure. The Bills' skill guys are completely different than they were there. Lamar Jackson doesn't have Greg Roman, in my opinion, kind of holding him back and being like, "Hey, you can only use half the field." You know, we saw how Greg Roman can get there. It's a completely different team. So, 2 years makes a giant. It doesn't usually make that big of a difference, but with these two teams, it definitely does. Furthermore, I don't think Josh Allen has played that great against the Ravens through his career. Like
I put nothing on him tonight.
I mean, yeah, he didn't have much help.
No help. Yeah, no help.
No help. I mean, they were like, it's tough because he didn't have much help, but he wasn't pushing the ball down the field like I would have hoped he would have.
Let's get back to Josh, because you were on a point about the Bills and the roster and the defense that I wanted to comment on, because
sure,
I think you said it perfectly. Actually, this roster is different. Here's the three things that I think they stuck out in this game, okay? And let's also say, Joe, this is one game. You're right. I didn't like the matchup either. I think these teams can play 10 times. I think the Bills are going to have their hands full 9.5 for those 10 times. No question about it. But the three things to me, again, the personnel with injuries, just night and day. Bernard, instead of not out there, Spector in, and especially Teron Johnson out there, not out there. And Cam Lewis, who might have had one of the worst games a professional nickelback could ever have. He was really, really bad today. Number two, I think the Bills were thoroughly, and I mean thoroughly, outcoached tonight on both sides of the football schematically. I'll give you one specific example in the second quarter. Cam Lewis, who I just told you about, he was so bad that the Bills had no choice but to go to Nick Morrow for a while and play a 3-linebacker set. The Ravens immediately see that, and over the course of 3 plays, they attacked him with play action and a pass to his side twice. The second time, a very easy touchdown. They exploited that quickly. Other side of the ball, there's one specific play I'm thinking of, and it's Curtis Samuel's back there, and it wasn't the botched trick play. He's back there as a running back. You know damn well he ain't pass blocking nobody. What do the Ravens do? They dial up a blitz on the edge. Spencer Brown picks up his guy, but this guy goes untouched, sacks Josh Allen. Now, the game was probably in hand anyway, but those are just 2 examples. I just think the Ravens put on a coaching clinic against Sean McDermott and his staff tonight. And then the last thing, Joe, before I turn this back over to you, the defense. I want to go back to them again. I've spent time talking about Cam Lewis and Braylon Spector, guys who are not supposed to be out there. Here's my biggest takeaway for the game. Damar Hamlin is not that guy. He is not a starter. He is a terrible football player as a starter. He's an adequate backup. That's all he is. I promise you, you're talking about watching the film and seeing who should have been open on that trick play. You watch this film back. This was one of the worst games I've ever seen a free safety play in my life of watching NFL football. That's my immediate instant overreaction. He's afraid of contact. I saw one play where Isaiah Likely, the tight end, blocked him for 8 yards into the end zone. The first play of the game, he takes a terrible angle, and you see that he's just not fast enough to make a play. He's running away from plays. He's got no awareness, his run support. I mean, if he's right up on the line, he'll make a play. But man, time after time after time, when you watch this back, I'm telling you, Damar Hamlin was awful. I don't know if you go to Mike Edwards next week, hasn't even been active. And I even said this on Twitter, and this is probably my overreaction to the game. You might want to call Micah Hyde up because Micah Hyde might be over the hill. Hell, he might even be washed up. But what he's not going to do is play stupid out there. He's not going to be afraid to come up and smack you and run support. He has awareness, and he's going to take better angles than Damar. Just a pathetic performance from Damar Hamlin. That's like my 10-minute after the game. Kind of getting mad talking about it right now.
I would look. I don't think. Look, Hamlin's he's a backup. I thought he's played well for the first 3 games of the season. I wouldn't go that nuts on him. I don't think Micah Hyde is the answer either. I mean, Micah Hyde. Look, I know he's a fan favorite. Blah blah blah. But like, there's a reason why he's not playing. Okay, and it's not. It has to do with he's not good anymore. So
either Damar Hamlin.
Well, look, I'm not going to go that extreme on Damar yet. I think he's been okay this season. It was a bad game for
He hasn't been tested.
When everyone on the fucking defense was shitty tonight. Who was fucking good? No one. The whole defense sucked tonight. So I'm not
agreed.
But I get you think he's the worst. Fine, whatever. I mean, look,
I just don't see playmaking in him, and it's been a month now. He had a gift interception on a 10-yard overthrow by Trevor Lawrence last week.
But Pat, come on, they fucking held Miami to like 100 yards, 100 yards passing. Like he's a part of that secondary. Look, I don't think he's great. I don't come away from this being that hard on him. But if you want to, that's fine, cool. Maybe a little bit of means a little bit like I have like sympathy because he almost died, and I know you do too as well. Probably.
I love him as a human being. He's awesome.
Yeah,
he's
I'm just saying,
not a starter. He's not a starting safety. He's just not. Sure. He's not good enough.
Look, maybe you're right. I'm going to give it a little more time before I'm like, but like, I think what I come away from this is I can give the defense a little bit of a pass because of the injuries, like we talked about.
Yes.
The offense is where I'm at right now. I don't know how you go from what you did against Jacksonville, where you look like a fucking juggernaut, and tonight you couldn't really do anything. Like the offensive line, the pass protection was terrible tonight. Like Josh Allen was running for his life.
You want a stat? Here's your stat of the day.
Go.
Ready? Because you're dead ass spot on. Josh Allen had 34 dropbacks. 34 dropbacks. He was pressured on 15 of them. Almost half of his dropbacks he was under pressure tonight. That's pathetic blocking right there.
And the Ravens, but the thing was the Ravens mixed it up. They had a lot of different blitzes. They had different looks, and they couldn't. Josh Allen was running for his life. I hadn't seen Josh Allen run for his life like that in a long ass time. It's been a minute since he's done that. That's happened, and the defensive line and the scheme that they had, it was all over Josh Allen. And the other thing too is the Bills wide receivers. I think this was that game so far. And again, it's 4 games. It's 4 games into the season. This is what was the game that like people like me who were not really keen on this wide receiver unit or this train or whatever the fuck you want to call it. They did not look great tonight. I saw guys that couldn't get separation. I think of that third down. And I think it was like the second quarter where like Shakir just couldn't get separation from the Ravens cornerback. Like he just couldn't move. Where the hell's Curtis Samuel? Like you pay this guy $8 million. Right. He hasn't done dick at all. Even when they're doing stuff, even when everyone was eating or whatever the fuck everyone wanted. The guy was eating a fucking mint under a hotel pillow. He wasn't doing much of shit. And now
it's 4 weeks now, Joe. I mean, this is not like a week now. This is a month into the season. I know he had turf toe, but this is you're right, man. He's a concern at this point. Like what? It seems like every year the Bills do this too. They go out and they go get this gadgety dude, Deontay Hardy, Isaiah McKenzie, this guy like Samuel, a guy who can run the ball, a scat guy, inside, outside, Jamison Crowder, another one. Yeah. And it just never seems to work out. But here's the problem. They giving this dude $8 million, man. And you're a month into the season. It's time for him to do something. I'm not going to blame him for the trick play, not in real time. I want to go back, watch it, hear from, players or coaches or whatever. But yeah, you're right. And Mac Hollins, I like Mac. I know you don't. I know you don't like the bare feet and the cat hater. And
no, I don't want the cat hating. I don't like the bare feet.
You don't like
fine,
the cat
hating.
He's a guy who's going to get you 2 catches for 15 yards. It feels like too much of the receiving is on. When it comes to the receivers, is Shakir and Coleman, who did make 2 nice catches, doesn't make up for dropping a bomb late in the second quarter because that was a big game altering potentially play. But yeah, man, you got Coleman, Shakir, and you don't really got anything else right now, a wide receiver.
Yeah,
It's a problem.
Yeah, it wasn't a good night for him. And then, like, where's Dawson Knox? I know I knocked him last week, and I'm knocking him again. Like, I don't even know if he plays anymore. But
I had him scoring a touchdown tonight in a parlay.
Of course you did. I'm sure you had everyone scoring a touchdown. But look, it was a really bad night, and I feel like I said, I feel like the Ravens were due for this because those games have been, I don't know, like. I think of the last game, and I know I'm kind of like being a hypocrite a little bit because I just said before the two teams were very different in 2022, but it was like that was a game that if you watch that, like the Ravens should have won that game, and they just played like sloppy in the second half. They can't hold leads, and the Bills came back and they won, blah blah blah. But I just felt like the Ravens are too good of a team where eventually you're gonna get caught, and like tonight was the night they got caught. But I felt let me tell you one thing that I thought was a little bit of a that pissed me off. This honestly pisses me off a little bit more than like the trick play a little bit. I don't get on the first series. You go for it on fourth down at I don't know where they were. They were at like the 35-yard line. I'm like, damn, 39, bold ass move. Good job. McDermott aggressive. Like, fuck the people like me who are like, are you really aggressive? Like, yeah, he just shoved it in my ass. Freaking 4 plays later, you have the same a 4th and 1.5 or 2 at midfield, and you punt. Like, why? Like, did you just like all of a sudden get like, hey, you know what? I put in my aggressive quota for the day. I want to see how this defense looks tonight. Like, why would you do that? That didn't make any sense to me. And that's one of the things that like Sean, like he's aggressive, but then sometimes he's like, wait a minute, I gotta take it easy. Let's like if it's too close, like as someone mentioned this to me on Twitter, and I was like, yeah, like the play before that fourth down where they punted, there was like a Kincaid drop, like it was a low pass, he could have probably had it. Like did the vibes all of a sudden like scare McDermott? Like, oh, they don't have the vibe right now, and it was just really just stupid. And like, it's like fucking go for it, dude. Like you want to be aggressive, and to me they lost like that first half. Is where they, I mean, look, we can talk the trick play, like the trick play did not help, obviously, but that first half, like that first quarter, it was kind of even, and then like you do that, and then you punt, and then the kind of the vibes are gone. They get it at 80 yards later, and it was just bad karma for the rest of the way, and it was like, you can't be half pregnant when it comes to being aggressive. Either you're aggressive or you're fucking not.
I'll say this much. I would have went for it as well, but I will say this. There's a difference between going forward on fourth down when you're in Josh Allen. What do they call it? The Orchard Park shovel. That's fucking play or whatever. Yeah, they're calling that stupid shit. Going for it when you have that play presented and going for it when it's 4th and 1.5 yards is different. I'm not saying I would have went for it. I agree with you, especially because it became apparent relatively quickly that you ain't stopping this offense. Talking about the Baltimore offense. Like he punted a second time. They punted when they were down 14-3. That actually pissed me off more than the first drive. Maybe the first drive, you moved the ball.
I just thought it didn't make sense for you to go for it and then like you just decide 10 yards later. Let's not. Like,
I think it's the yardage. I think it was different. I think there was a difference in yardage, which by the way, a couple times, Josh Allen, and I understand. Look, Joe, this is one game out of 17. You don't want your quarterback potentially being gone for a month, so I'm not bitching about this, but it was noticeable where Josh was a willing runner, but he was getting down quick. And on 2 separate runs during this game, he slid first before the first down marker. And in one of those 2 times, it ended up being costly because they ended up not converting. And they ran a play action play where Josh should have handed off, and then it was an incomplete pass, maybe to Knox or Kincaid. I don't freaking remember. They ended up punting, though. I got more annoyed by the second time they actually punted when they were down.
That was annoying, too.
14-3. But that was back to the coaching. I just think the Bills were thoroughly outcoached, especially in the first half. Joe Brady, like the Bills in the first half, and I don't think Josh threw, maybe he threw one ball. Actually, he threw one to Coleman when he dropped it near the end of the half. But the Bills were just looking really conservative with the short dump-off passes on offense. But defense, Bobby Babich, and hopefully this was a learning lesson for him. If you're going to go down against an offense that you can't stop, that's just, they're superior to you on that night, go down fighting. Be aggressive. Bring 8-9 guys in. Blitz somebody every single play. But those first 3 drives, Bobby Babich, whatever defenses he's calling, they weren't working, and they were just basically sitting back in a nickel or 4-3 and just letting Baltimore dictate everything. The little success the Bills did have was in the third quarter. They tried to make a game out of it. Bobby Babich dialed up blitzes. Dorian Williams got a sack. couple nice stops. They forced Baltimore to punt back-to-back times because they were a little more aggressive. So hopefully Bobby Babich will learn from this game. But yeah, Joe Brady, this was not he was outmatched by the defensive coordinator, which is Zach Gore for the Ravens, which is funny because coming into this game, the Ravens' issue has been the defense hasn't been on the same page. And this past defense was worse in the NFL coming. They were dead last in the NFL coming into this game. And
Gardner Minshew destroyed them, like beat their asses. And it's like 2 weeks later, they really played well against freaking Josh Allen, like the MVP or the close to the MVP of the first 3 games. But it was just a shitty game all the way around. There wasn't anyone like there was not like Keon Coleman made some nice catches after he had a terrible drop in the first half.
Yeah, he redeemed himself somewhat.
He had some.
Still not happy with him though, but he redeemed himself.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, you got to fucking rely on a second round rookie to be like a fucking big part of your fucking offense. And everyone has to eat. Like I said, everyone has to eat is great. It sounds awesome when after the fact people are eating, but when you need to fucking play from your big time wide receivers or someone, they didn't get that tonight. They really didn't, and that's a lot of it is on like coach. It's on everyone. Like we dissected it real quick. The offensive line wasn't good at pass protecting. They had no running game whatsoever tonight. Like they had no time because it was 14-3 before you fucking knew it.
Sure.
And they kind of just were like, maybe they had the plan, like, hey, they wanted to run it more, but it just was shitty. It was shitty offensive.
It was for sure. Look, and that was one of the more ugly first halves, hopefully, that you'll see from the Bills this entire season. But I'll say this. So they're down 21-3. I'm pissed off because I'm like, if Keon Coleman doesn't drop that pass, it's probably 21-10 at the half. Yeah. Worse is 21-6. Also, another thing, I have one more thing about coaching that pissed me off. So they don't score. They punt. Baltimore has the ball, I don't know, maybe around their 20 or so. There's 42 seconds left in the half. The Bills have all 3 of their timeouts, and they're down 21-3. On first down, Dorian Williams makes a stop for no gain, and the Bills just let the clock run out. They could have tried to say, you know what, we're going to force you to 3 and out, have to punt. Maybe you can bust a punt return and try to be aggressive before the half. But Sean McDermott down 21-3 in all 3 of his timeouts, 2nd and 10, 42 seconds left. He just let the clock run all the way down.
Yeah, he seemed like
pissed me off.
Yeah, it seemed like they wanted to get the halftime and do the halftime adjustment shit. And yeah, I can understand you being like, hey, be it like take some time out, like get a field goal or anything like that. And speaking of field goals, Tyler Bass, like it's like, hey, it's a 50-yarder, like great, he's back, kind of. And then at the
time I thought that was a big kick.
Actually, it was.
I was like, all right, well, the answer to 7-3, it's important. But then there's the sequence to me. So you go into the locker room, you're down 21-3. I'm like, this shit is ugly. I'm already starting to try to jot some notes down for this post game with you. They come out, and again, Dorian Williams, a really big play. They force Baltimore to 3 and out. Josh Allen goes Superman. I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't say that play. That's one of the best throws you'll ever see in your life. He's off balance, running. The way he threw that ball to Shakir, oh my God, just fucking no one else does that. Not even Mahomes makes that throw. I'm sorry. But anyway, now it's 21-10, okay? And then your defense comes out and you get another stop. And now the Bills are driving. They get the ball. They're around midfield. And then the bonehead trick play happens. Then Baltimore gets the ball. It's 3rd down. And they got a chance to at least hold them to a field goal attempt. And Justin Tucker's not been that good this year. And then Cam Lewis just whiffs on a tackle in the open field. They convert it. And then like 2 plays later, one of the few things I wrote in my notes, Hamlin got fooled initially, and then Isaiah Likely blocked him for 8 consecutive yards directly almost through the end zone, and Baltimore scores an easy touchdown. It's 28-10, and that's a wrap. So you go from 21-10 with the ball in midfield, a chance to, at the worst, maybe get into a 1-score game, and now it's 28-10. And that's a wrap. By the way, I said on the video side, I told you this before the show started, like, nobody want to hear about this game right afterwards. I was wrong because there's well over 500 people here on the live chat. So I do appreciate everybody who's come to check this out. But that was definitely the turning point of the game. The trick play, and then just the Bills' inability to make a 3rd down stop.
Yeah,
limit the damage.
To clarify, look, I don't mind calling a trick play. It was a shitty trick play, but I also think a lot of it, Deion Dawkins did not do his job on that. And you watch that replay, you'll see it. But look, it's a bad, ugly game. And I said it last week after when we were doing our post game. I said the next 3 weeks it's been a honeymoon the last 3 weeks. The first 3 weeks, everyone's been fucking hyped. And
agreed.
And I get it. Like, hey, go shout, all that shit. Let's see what happens now, because you're on the road. This is the next week. You got pressure on you because you just laid a giant egg. And
yeah, let me take on the video side, like literally a 3-second break. We're gonna come back and kind of put a bow on this game, but start to look towards the next couple of weeks, which I think are going to be real huge. So to your point that you were getting into talking about the next couple of games, we'll be back in like 3 seconds on the video side. All right, I'm back here with Joe from Queens. Instant reactions after the Baltimore Ravens put one on the Buffalo Bills Sunday Night Football, which, by the way, it always sucks. It sucks to get smacked at any game, but it especially sucks on a Sunday Night Football game. The whole country's watching, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, even just less than an hour after the final horn right now, Joe, I'm okay. I'm like, I get it. Again, the Jets just lost at home to the Denver Broncos today.
Sure.
And we've seen a lot of teams have shit weeks, and the Bills kind of felt due for one. It just sucks that it happened when it did. What's your level of concern right now going forward? My mindset was this: you have a 3-game stretch, Baltimore, Houston, and the Jets. You're 3-0 going in. I'm like, sign me up for a 1-2.
Sure.
And if you're 4-2 after 6 games, but you got that stretch out of the way, plus you beat Miami on the road, it's your divisional rival there. I'll take 4-2 to start over the first 6 games. Give me one in the next 2. Like, what's your mindset right now? Is this just one game to you, or are there things that you saw in this game that you're now really, really concerned about going forward? Or is this just a big shitter?
There's a few things you could look at it. One, overall, I don't have a lot of confidence in the AFC. I think the AFC is not very good. I think it's there for the taking for anyone who just gets hot. We've talked about it. Like, the Chiefs are freaking 4-0 and they look like shit. Again, second year in a row, they look like shit. But you can take out someone. But you played a team, in my opinion, the Ravens, I had it like better as the Bills going into the season. I had them, like, if you want to do my power fucking rankings, I had them better. I didn't need them to win tonight. I needed them to show that they can compete with them and play well and not be like shitty. They were shitty tonight. And now it's like, okay, it's one game. What happens next week against Houston? A team that I had better than the Bills, like, going into the season. I thought the Texans were better than the Bills. What happens if they lose, but they get their asses kicked again? Or it's just not, it's not, maybe not as bad as this, but they lose by like 2 scores or something like that. Then you start wondering, okay, well, what are you? Are you a team that just beats the shit out of shitty teams? And it's a sport that invites instant reaction. Like, I'll give you an example. Like the Cardinals. After the Cardinals beat the Rams, I saw so many people on Bill's Twitter who were like, you know what? The Cardinals might be better than we thought they would because they beat the Rams. And I'm like, the Rams are kind of shitty and they're not good. And what happens today? They fucking got obliterated by Washington. Like, and now, so what does that win mean as much anymore? Or what happened? Because before it was like, ooh, like they kicked them, they destroyed the Rams, and now it's 2 weeks later, they're fucking 1-3. So it's like you go back to this thinking, like, because how you go against other teams does matter. And it's one of those things where it matters because you have to go against the better teams as the season progresses. When you get in the playoffs, you're not going to play the Jaguars or the Dolphins or whatever. You're going to play the better teams. And that's how I view them. This was their biggest test of the season. This was a team that won the number 1 seed last year. And for whatever reason on Bill's Twitter, I feel like Lamar Jackson and the Ravens don't get enough respect, like, on Bill's Twitter. They fucking despise Lamar Jackson. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on over there, but I feel like they don't respect them. They don't respect the Ravens. And I respect them because I think it's a team that's really, they have a lot of talent.
He's won 2 MVPs, man. You got to respect
you got to respect it. But I don't know what, on Bill's Twitter, it doesn't feel
I think it's because of the play, because he's been garbage in the playoffs. And he has been garbage in the playoffs.
I agree. But it's more than that sometimes. But I digress. Anyways, I think I'm concerned, like, in terms of today, like I said, all of the naysaying, like, from me going into the season, like, I was worried about how the defense is going to do against a team that it can rush the football and can pass. That's what the Ravens can do. They can do both. And I was concerned about the Bills' wide receiving core and, like, how can they get separation? Like, the Bills Josh Allen had like 155 yards passing. And that was on a game where it wasn't like we saw the first 2 weeks where he didn't have to do that, or he took two quarters off. Like, they were like, you need to win this game. And the passing game was non-existent in this game outside of that giant bomb. It just didn't work today. So look, it's still early in the season. I don't want to, like, write them off for dead. I also don't want to say that the best thing since sliced bread, but it was reality check. And I remember last week you talked about how you don't like when the Bills are too confident, like they're too high up, and you don't like that at all. And
I don't.
This
is why.
Maybe this is what you need. You need that humbling fucking. Because look, they haven't lost a bad game like this in the regular season since the Colts in 2021. It's been a fucking minute.
44 games in a row where they didn't lose by a touchdown and an extra point.
Yeah.
By the way, Aaron Wallace commented. He goes, "Who is Joe from Queens? Does he have his own show?" And he doesn't have his own show. I've told him he should have his own show. He's just going rant about the media. I think that would be a huge hit, but he's not going to do it. Look, I'm trying my best, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job of just separating the game from the team. But I will say this. In terms of the game, look, the Bills gave up 281 total yards to the Ravens today in the first half. 281 yards in the first half. Granted, 87 of it was on one play, but even if you take that away, you still gave up almost 200 yards in the first half.
Let me ask you this. Can I ask you one quick question? My apologies. What are you more concerned about, the defense or the offense right now, as we sit here at 12 o'clock at night on Monday morning?
I'm more concerned. It's a good question. Let me explain it. The short answer is the defense. I'm more concerned about the defense. The longer answer is this. Am I concerned about Cam Lewis, and am I concerned about Braylon Spector? No, because hopefully, God willing, these dudes ain't going to be on the field within the next 2 weeks. Sure. Those were two tonight. Again, Spector is a 7th-round pick. Cam Lewis is an undrafted guy. I don't know what our expectations rightfully should be with these guys, but they were outclassed tonight badly. That said, hopefully they're not going to be on the field. I think Dorian Williams is making mistakes, but I think he's holding his own. He ain't Matt Milano, but he's holding his own. I have not concern about the defensive line, but I'm annoyed with them because it seems like they show up when they feel like it every other game. Ed Oliver shows up when he feels like it. I love Greg Rousseau, but guess what? Greg Rousseau ain't done shit since week 1 against Arizona when he was a beast. Von Miller has had a good season, but he was silent in this game because Baltimore wasn't forced to pass much. Daquan Jones has been, these backups have been smooth. So I'm annoyed with them, but I'm not concerned because I think they'll get better. I'm telling you, where I'm not concerned about the corners at all. Russell Douglas, a night to forget, but he's still a really good corner. I am very, very concerned. There's 2 concerns I have with this football team that go way beyond this one game. This was a snapshot of my 2 biggest concerns tonight. Number 1, I think the Bills' safeties stink. I think they stink. I think Damar Hamlin stinks, and I think Taylor Rapp, who got hurt tonight, I think he stinks. Cole Bishop's only a rookie. Mike Edwards ain't even impressing them enough to be active. That's a problem. This team,
it's not been a great free agent class so far. It's early, but it hasn't.
Look, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, way past their prime. We saw it last year, but I'm telling you, I thought that this year, just being younger, these safeties would be better. These safeties through this first month, even though the Bills are 3-1, have been worse than Poyer and Hyde last year. Not even prime those guys. Last year's version, they don't support well and run. They're not very good in coverage, and they're not athletic at all, and they're not smart enough to make up for being Micah Hyde's not the best athlete, but Micah Hyde, if nothing else, Micah Hyde is smart enough to make up for it by using his brain. Damar Hamlin, to me, I ain't seeing that. So that is a huge concern. So I'm worried about the defense because I think the safety position stinks. The defensive line is inconsistent, and the linebackers are just hurt. Offensively, I'm not fully confident, but you have in my opinion, and I'm going to say this, and I know a lot of people are going to roll their eyes, I think Josh Allen's the best player in football in 2024. I think he's the best player in this league. He will make things happen more often than not. They can run the ball. The offensive line, this is a bad night for them. This is a pretty good offensive line, minus Drayden or Osiris Torrance. Not a fan of his at all this year, nor last year as much. But they've been fine. The line's fine. You got an all-world quarterback, good running backs, a good tight end. But I have a concern. I do think we have a Curtis Samuel problem. I don't think this is just a little tiny sample size. I think the Bills spent good money on a player that they're not going to get any consistent production from. They just don't know how to use these type of players. We see it year after year after year in Buffalo. So I am concerned. If Keon Coleman doesn't grow by leaps and bounds as the season gets older, you got him, you got Shakir. What else you got a receiver? Because Matt Collins, MVS is, Jesus Christ, I forgot he was even active tonight. I mean, what are we doing here with these Matt Collins, MVS, Brandon Bean not looking too good right now by being a little too content, I think, with these receivers. So, but I'm more concerned about the defense because there is no one on defense that's named Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more. I'm more concerned about the defense, but I think the offense is way more important. So I'm concerned about the offense in a way because look, defense can finish in the top 5, top 10. And it's at the end of the day, it's really about the offense. That's what's going to make it work in this league.
That's fair.
And you get 236 yards in total offense against a Ravens team that, heading into this game was not very good on defense. And you saw how if you get after Josh Allen, he was running for his life. And now you have this, and this is cliche, but this is true. You get this on tape. Other teams can look at this and go, this is how we defend Josh Allen. And this is like, we could try to pull this and do some blitzing and guys aren't getting open down the field like they did before. I mean, the one play, to Shakir, look, it was a busted play that Josh Allen made for his whole made himself. And it's a concern for me. And even though it's like, hey, the first 3 weeks offense was brilliant, chef's kiss. But now
look at the comment. Can you see the comment? Read this comment. You said a good question. Are you more concerned about the offense or the defense? What about the coaching? The comment says between the offense and the defense, I'm more concerned about the sideline. Sean McDermott needs to go. All right, Sean McDermott don't need to go. Sean McDermott's a good coach. Sean McDermott had a bad night. It's fair to have concerns, though, to the original point before overdoing it, saying he needs to go. There's some people out there who might say tight games, good opponents, big situations. I'm still concerned about the coaches with the first-year coordinator, Joe Brady. It's at least fair to ponder that.
Well, yeah. They're 3-1. I'm not a giant Sean guy. I mean, I probably would have cut bait last year when they were 6-6, but I was wrong, in terms
I'm not going to
that.
jump off Sean because of a bad night. This was a bad night to me.
There's just moments that sometimes he gets he gets a little too cute, or he's not aggressive when he should be aggressive, or he's like, I'm not going to be aggressive, like I said on the on the first drive. But I don't know. I still have my concerns about this offense a little bit because like I said, it's a new offense, and you have that you get 4 weeks worth of tape now, and defenses can go and dissect it. And I've told this before. You're going to go do this 10, 12 yards of death by 1,000 paper cuts. That's great. But when defenses start coming in and they start fucking playing zone and they're knocking your guys out, then you have to have a guy going deep to fucking break that fucking minutia up. And they don't have that right now. They don't have that deep guy.
At the risk of taking an easy way out, it's also kind of connected to when your defense plays like the Bills defense they did tonight. It forces your offense to be a hell of a lot more one-dimensional because now you're like, we got to score a touchdown every single time. We're not stopping the opponent. And, they're going to key down and say, all right, well, James Cook ain't going to beat us or whatever it's going to be. Whatever that defense decides that they want to try to take away, it's going to make it tough. But it's like in lockstep, if your defense is playing good, your offense could do what the Bills offense did the first 3 weeks. They can run the ball. They can throw it safely.
But at the same time, your offense can be your defense's best friend if they're scoring points, and then you can tee off of them. And that's the thing. The Bills' offense, they had some of the, like I said, the first couple of drives, they kind of moved the ball a little bit, and then they got shitty. Like, they got the field goal. They got the field goal on the second possession. The first possession, they freaking got weird and decided to punt after they were aggressive. If you're aggressive on those 2 drives, maybe it changes things, and you're not fucking.
They weren't.
It's a closer game, and then everyone's kind of still with their game plan.
The shoe was on the other foot with them tonight. The last 2 weeks, they've gotten up big on Baltimore. They got up big on Jacksonville. They got to pin their ears back. They got to get creative and get after the quarterback. Tonight, they got a taste of their own medicine because the Bills fell behind 14-3, and then bam, 21-3, and that running James Cook and moving the chains, that wasn't going to work when you're down 21-3. So
yeah, I mean, it just was a bad night, but we'll see what happens. I mean, this happens. I mean, it hasn't happened in a while to them, but hopefully they'll learn from it. But you got the Texans next week, and that's going to be a fucking war. Like, I hate saying war, but whatever it is. Like, you got Diggs playing, and he's going to want the fucking ball, and he's going to want to prove like he still has it. And the Bills are going to want to prove that they don't need him anymore, and everyone's eating at the fucking buffet and all that shit. And it's going to be a big
Houston. Don't get me wrong; they're a good team, though. But I've watched.
I'm not impressed with anyone, to be honest with you. I'm not impressed with anyone. Like, if you want, like,
I'm impressed with the different conference, but I'm impressed with the Minnesota Vikings, man. They're probably the best. They're the best team in football right now.
Adam Gase, man, he has to be the worst head coach ever. And so Matt Rule too. Throw him in there. Like, Darnold and Baker Mayfield in Carolina. You hated Baker, and you got to admit Baker looks good. You hated him too.
He's all right. Who cares though? Back to the AFC.
No. Let me make my point. Really, my point is like, you have good coaching, you have good skill guys. You could make a lot out of a fucking quarterback. Go ahead.
Sure. No, the AFC. It's really wide open. Dude, the Ravens are only 2-2, all right? They lost at home to the Raiders. They looked like world beaters tonight. Guess what? The Bills look like world beaters for 3 straight weeks, okay? Yeah. The Jets just lost at home to Denver, and they're 2-2. The Chiefs are 4-0. They just probably lost Rashee Rice for the season on Sunday. No more Hollywood Brown. No more Rashee Rice. That's going to make them that'll probably make them go trade for Hopkins or Devontae Adams or some shit like that.
It's also going to make people paranoid, because if Worthy comes through and he's getting the ball more targets, I'm going to be like, oh,
yeah,
shit.
He had a big touchdown on Sunday. But anyway, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're still, they're still really good, but they're not invincible by any means. Houston has lost a game they should have. By the way, Jacksonville may never win a game again, because this fucking team, not against the Bills because they were just outclassed that game, but they blew another game that they should have won. They should have beat Miami. They should have beat Houston. It was actually really annoying watching that game. Look, Joe, bottom line is this. The Bills have 2 games coming up now at Houston, at the Jets. Win one of them. Be 4-2. You got that part of your schedule out of the way. You return home to play the Titans. Obviously, if you're going to win one of the 2, the Jets is the more important game. That's more important than the
And you should win the Jets. I mean, they look a little bit disheveled. I don't know. It's a week-to-week league, and like, you don't want to kick too much dirt, and like I told you before, the example I use, like the Cardinals. Oh, like the Cardinals beat the Rams. They might have been a good team, and they're in the 1-3 now.
Is this a game? If this game tonight, Sunday
I'll say
night,
this real quick. My apologies, Pat. I'll say this, and then you can ask your question. I don't want to see the Ravens. I do not want to see the Ravens. I don't like them this year. They're a different Ravens team than they were 2 years ago. I know last year they lost in the conference game and everyone jerked off and was happy that they lost or whatever. Lamar, fuck him. I get it. But this is just Derrick Henry, and I don't think we talked about him enough. That is a badass man. That's Earl Campbell meets Christian Okoye meets fucking like, I don't want to.
He's Eric Dickerson. They said I'm stealing what they said tonight on the broadcast, but he's basically the modern day Eric Dickerson. Great point from somebody in the Largemouth Hunter said at 21-3 they eliminated Cook. That's a good point. You can make a case after Josh Allen that James Cook might have been the MVP of the Bills for the first 3 weeks of the season.
Sure,
and he was an utter non-factor by say early into the second quarter.
Yeah, he only had 9. He only had 9 carries.
Not a good game. Joe Brady had a bad night. Yeah. Bobby Babbage had a bad night, although Bobby Babbage was bringing a knife to a gunfight, trying to stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry with, again, Cam freaking Lewis and Braylon Spector.
And that's the thing. Hey, and you could easily talk yourself, even though I don't want none of them, you could easily talk yourself into a rematch of, hey, we lost. We had these our 2 all pros were out. Our fucking captain was out.
It's
on
a fair
defense.
it's a fair
Sure.
excuse too. It really truly is. Now, do I think the Bills would have won tonight if Bernard and Teron Johnson played? No. Baltimore was the
No.
better team tonight.
Because the biggest thing, and that's the thing, because you could find an excuse about the defense. Like when I asked you what's your bigger concern, your concern was depth. That like you don't want these backups playing, but if they get healthy, then you go back to the offense because the offense is healthy. And like they looked like shit tonight. They looked bad, but again, they carried the load.
I said sure, but I said the reason why I said the defense is because I think the safety stink, and I think the defensive line is
that could be a long-term problem with the safety.
I'll tell you one thing about the Ravens, though, before we go anointing them the Super Bowl champions right now, or at least AFC champions. They were begging. They do this all the time. They did it against the Raiders this year. They almost did it against Dallas last week. Literally, This is a team that can play really well, and they get up. And they, for whatever reason, that foot comes off the gas and they let teams back in. They were begging the Bills to get back in this game. It's 21-10. The Bills got the ball in their midfield, and then the idiot trick play. You know, I'm not going to call it an idiot trick play because if it works, we're praising it. Let's watch the film. But anyway,
like I said, yeah, if it works.
If the Bills scored, it's 7 minutes left in the third quarter, and it's now a one-score game. Baltimore is getting tight at that point. That's what annoys me. Is it's not like a dumb trick play. Like a lot of people.
No, I understand it.
Big picture, you should be mad because you almost got Josh Allen killed. They're lucky that he didn't get hurt. But it was at a moment of the game where they were having success and they could have got back in the game.
As I said, look, I don't mind a trick play. They should have ran a different trick play. It looked like shit. When you watch the thing, you'll see Dawkins just whiffed, and I think the part of the reason why that play blew up was Dawkins. I don't know what the fuck he was doing, but
This is a good comment. Jason said in the chat here, let's all be honest. This loss was coming for this team. The duct tape broke and all the issues we knew they had should have bit us all this time finally did. It was always about the response to this. That's a good point. And we're kind of in on that. How did the Bills respond from a complete, shit show of a performance here on Sunday night? That's what it's all about.
I think it's going to be a big test because look, they're not playing. And again, I know you said you weren't. Look, the Texans are a good team. I know they haven't been no question. But they're not playing like a shitty another like the fucking I don't know the Raiders.
Good. I'm glad because if they go and they beat up on the Rams next week or the Titans, I don't know anything about this team. I just know that they bounce back against an inferior team. Now you're going on the road against a good team with a wide receiver that probably wants nothing more in the world than to beat you and be the star as they're doing it. So how you respond to this loss will be a lot more telling about than the performance itself tonight.
Yeah.
Kind of where I'm at with this. I'm going through the comments to see if there's anything else I wanted to throw up here before we get out. If you want to try a trick play, save it for the end of the game or a game winner. No, thank you for the comment. I don't really agree with that.
Like I said, look, a trick play, you got them on your heels, and it's like, let's go for the jugular. I get that. As I said, it was you have Samuel, he was in like the Wildcat, and he takes the freaking ball and he pitches it to Josh, and it was just
things are happening when he's when he's back there. By the way, again, they recognized him back there, and they had a successful blitz. He rushed the ball against Jacksonville, and he slipped last week. He's just not getting nothing going.
If they just ran a traditional flea flicker, maybe it would have been better than that thing that they ran. But I'm fine. Look, I like tricks. Tricks are for kids, I guess. I don't fucking know. But I was, that was it. But
somebody else said Josh had no help at the game, dropping dimes but not caught. Look, all of his throws weren't great. Yeah, but again, he was under duress almost his whole game.
He was
Kincaid had a couple drops for sure. Coleman had it. You cannot throw a football.
Your boy better. Dawson Knox doesn't play anymore. I don't know what he's doing except getting girls hot.
Keon Coleman, look, hopefully he's never late for another meeting. Hopefully he learned his lesson last week with that. Hopefully he learned his lesson. I mean, look, it's one play. It's physical. It happens to the best receiver. Justin Jefferson drops the ball. But let's just hope that was an anomaly going forward for him. And then Jason said, and this is true. This is about the Ravens, man. They always blow a good team out in the regular season. Lamar wins MVP, and then they lose in the playoffs, man.
You could say the same thing about the Bills because they always lose to the playoffs too. But sure, yeah, you could say that. Fine.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
And credit to you because I haven't mentioned enough tonight. A commenter, Michael, says the offensive line pass protection
It was
sucked.
not
I
good
mean,
tonight. It
that
was
can't be
bad. He was
that
running for
cannot
his
be
life.
that cannot be understated. The offensive line, nobody did Josh any favors tonight, man. Literally nobody. Like I said, even Kincaid had a catch or two. I won't call them easy drops, but plays that he would like to have back. And that throw to Khalil Shakir, it sucks that it's going to get overshadowed and lost in this because the Bills got the shit kicked out of them.
Sure.
But what an unbelievable play.
Yeah.
And I get it, man. If you're a fan of football, you just want to watch guys like that play. You know what I'm
Yeah. No, he was
fandom here. He's just fun to watch, man.
Yeah.
He's a competitor too. I mean, I thought
hopefully he's fine.
I was nervous when he went down and he stayed down. And Kincaid Kincaid was acting because he got hit after the play. But man, that was some scary ass shit.
I was having memories of the Jets. Remember the Jet from 2 years ago with when he got injured against the Jets, whatever that fucking arm injury was. Remember he slung
his shoulder.
Yep. Yeah, wherever it was. Well, no, it was the arm. Remember he slung it down the field and someone grabbed it while he was doing it and he got that weird injury that we all thought he was gonna be out for the year. That was the rumor, but that kind of looked like it. But
to put a bow on this, because we're gonna get out of here. I think we're on the same page. Look, the Bills sucked in this game.
It was a bad game.
They got smacked. They got smacked on offense. They got smacked on defense. They were physically dominated. They were mentally beat because they were outcoached big time. But we're just going to say it's a bad game. It happens. And we both agree that it's how they bounce back. It's going to be a big game.
I'm not expecting them. You're asking me tomorrow, do I think they're going to beat the Texans? I don't think they will. I just think the Texans it's going to be close. But if it's close, I'm fine with that. I'm kind of in that, get to 4-2, beat the Jets. But I just don't like the Texans matchup. But again, I know, you could tell me, hey, they barely beat the Jags, and the Jags suck, and they got killed by Minnesota.
They hardly beat the Colts, and they got slapped against the Vikings.
And then again, the Raiders beat the fucking Ravens, and we got obliterated by them. So you never know in this whole fucking.
I'm looking forward to watching on tomorrow's show. I'll have I'm gonna watch the film. They're gonna have some takeaways on it. I'm really looking forward to watching the trick play because you know what? There was an exchange and the bad things started happening so quick. I don't know if we'll be able to get a look if it would have worked or not because things broke down so fast. But I got a gut feeling that just off the top of my head, when I watch this game film back, that I'm gonna have a lot more substance to what I'm saying about how bad the Bills safeties have been this season. I mean, this was horrific. Well, I shouldn't say they've been that bad this season. They haven't been tested this season, and they were tested and failed miserably in this game. And then, like I said, the other guys, is going to be a bunch of backups, but I want to watch the defensive line too. And I also want to see the offensive line and see who blew. I know Osiris Torres got smoked a few times. Freaking, Jesus. Anyway, all right.
By the way, on the video side, I don't know if you noticed it, but it says blah next to my name instead of at Buffalo Wins. So blah. I don't know if you've seen that in the video. I'm blah. Why you have you don't follow me at blah. You follow me at Buffalo Wins, even though Pat doesn't like promoting myself.
Thank you for doing the show, of course, and thank you on the video side. I was dead ass wrong. I know myself, and when I watch my team get the shit beat out of them, the last thing I want to do is hear people talk about it. But there's well over 600 people here live, well after midnight in the chat. So people who stuck around to vent or
they're looking for nudes, like the ex Bills broadcasters looking for. That's why they're on here right now, looking for nudes, and they have it on. I'm just playing. Thank you, everyone.
I'll be back. Like I said, I think I'm doing a solo show tomorrow, and that will be post-film, post-PFF grades. I kind of want to dive in and go back to some of these key plays and kind of break down who really fucked up on a lot of these plays. And then on Wednesday's show, Matt Warren from SB Nation will be on. We'll talk Bills.
Do you have a Marino on this week? Joe or the other Anthony Marino, is he on this week?
Anthony, I'm hoping Anthony will be doing Friday show, which whether he is or not.
Did you fire Tone Pucks yet, or is he gone?
I have not fired Tone. I think Tone Pucks thinks that I fired Tone Pucks at this point. He's pretty pissed off at me for God only.
Who isn't pissed off at you these days?
Fair enough, man. All right, guys. But that's going to do it for the show. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll be back every day because I don't give a shit if I get COVID again. If I get COVID again, I will do a show on my deathbed. By
You're
the
a
way,
Mark.
I lied. I
Mark.
was signing off.
What?
real
I
quick.
wanted to leave. Come
I know
on.
you wanted to leave. I want to say this. I was bored last week, so I missed 3 shows. I have not missed 3 shows in over a year combined, and I missed 3 shows last week alone because I had COVID, including right after the Bills beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. That game was so much fun to watch. God, I wanted to talk about it, but I literally was dizzy and I couldn't talk. That shit sucked. I'm telling you now, I was bored out of my mind. I have a full-time job, a second job, a little bit of a social life. I was bored out of my skull not being able to do a podcast every day last week. This is my life, bro. It sucked fucking not being able to do
You're
it.
a geek. Fucking like a fucking dork.
All right, guys.
We should have talked about the Vince McMahon documentary tonight instead of this bullshit. But
we'll do that. We'll do that next time I have you on. Maybe I'll have you on before the actual Houston game as well. Too,
oh, God. No. I got a life, dude. Bye.
All right. For Joe from Queens, Pat Moran will be back. Brand new show tomorrow.